All right, let's just dive right in and talk about the one chapter that I know gives so many of you nightmares: carbon and its compounds. I get it. The names, the structures, the reactions, it feels like a whole new language, and it can be totally overwhelming. And I bet this sounds familiar, right? That feeling of just being completely stuck, like you're at ground zero with no idea how to even start. You've tried reading the book, you've tried watching videos, but it's just not clicking. But here's the thing. What if I told you the entire secret to this chapter, the one key that unlocks everything, is an idea you already understand perfectly? It's just sharing. Seriously. So that's where we're going to begin. So let's pull back the curtain on this secret. We're going to kick things off by understanding something called covalent bonds. And I promise you, it sounds way more complicated than it actually is. A covalent bond is literally just about mutual sharing. Okay, picture this. You're in class, you've got the textbook, your friend has the awesome notes. Neither of you wants to give your stuff away completely, so what do? You put them together and share. That's exactly what atoms do with their electrons. Let's actually see this in action with these electron dot structures. So check out step one. We've got two chlorine atoms. Each one has 7 electrons in its outer shell, but it really wants 8 to feel stable and happy. Now, neither one is just going to give an electron away, so what's the solution? Look at step 2. They each put 1 electron into a shared pool in the middle. And boom! Step 3, they form a single covalent bond. Now, count them up. Each atom gets to count that shared pair, so they both have their stable set of 8. See? Simple sharing. And this sharing thing can happen at different levels. Atoms can share 1 pair of electrons, making a single bond, just like we saw with chlorine, or they can share 2 pairs to make a double bond, which is what oxygen does. And some, like nitrogen, go all out and share 3 pairs, forming a super strong triple bond. Honestly, you should think of this slide as your first little cheat sheet for the chapter. Okay, so where does our main character, carbon, fit into all this? Let's figure out why this one element is pretty much the ultimate builder of, well, everything. The whole story of carbon starts with a problem, a puzzle, really. A carbon atom has 4 electrons chilling in its outer shell, but remember, the magic number is 8, so it's got to find 4 more electrons from somewhere. How in the world is it going to pull that off? Well, it's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. On one hand, it could try to just get rid of its 4 electrons, but that would take a ton of energy, because its nucleus is holding on tight. On the other hand, it could try to grab 4 more electrons, but its tiny nucleus with only 6 protons just isn't strong enough to hold on to 10 electrons. The whole atom would become super unstable and just fall apart. So what does it do? If it can't lose and it can't gain, it shares. Carbon solves its big problem by forming 4 covalent bonds. And this right here, this is its superpower. The fancy name for it is tetravalency. And because it can form 4 bonds, it can create these incredible long chains, branches, and rings. Basically, the skeletons for all the amazing molecules that make up life itself. All right, so now that we know how carbon builds things, it's time to learn its language. This next part is called nomenclature. And don't let that word scare you, okay? It's just a set of really simple rules for naming molecules made of carbon and hydrogen, which, by the way, we just call hydrocarbons. And this right here is your ultimate cheat sheet. Seriously, screenshot this slide. The whole naming game boils down to this table. Every name has 2 parts: a root that tells you how many carbons there are, and a suffix that tells you what kind of bonds are holding them together. If you only see single bonds, the name ends in "ane." Got a double bond in there? It ends in "ene." A triple bond? You guessed it, "-ine." That's the system. But carbon doesn't just hang out with hydrogen. Things get really interesting when other atoms decide to join the party. And when they attach to a carbon chain, they give the whole molecule a completely new personality. We call these little add-ons functional groups. They're kind of like accessories. A plain hydrocarbon chain is like a basic t-shirt. But when you add a functional group, it's like adding a cool design or a pocket. It completely changes how it looks and what it does. And here they are. These are the main personalities you really need to know for your exams. For example, you see an OH group attached? Boom, that's an alcohol, and the name's going to end in "-ol." See that COOH group? That's a carboxylic acid, and its name will end in oic acid. Again, this table is your best friend for figuring these out. Now here's where carbon gets really creative. It turns out that even if you have the exact same set of atoms, you can build totally different things. It's not just about the ingredients. It's about how you put them together. And this brings us to the cool idea of isomers. It's like Legos, right? You can have the exact same 10 bricks, but you can use them to build a car or a house. Same parts, different structures. That's what isomers are in chemistry. Same molecular formula, but a different arrangement of the atoms. Let's look at a classic example, butane. The formula is C4H10. On the left, you can arrange those 4 carbons in a nice, simple straight line. But you could also arrange the exact same atoms like you see on the right, a chain of 3 with the 4th one branching off the middle. They're both C4H10, but they are totally different molecules with different properties. They're isomers. Okay, deep breath, we've reached the part that I know freaks everyone out, the chemical reactions. But don't worry, we're going to cut right through the noise. Instead of trying to memorize a million different reactions, let's just focus on one key molecule, ethanol, and see 2 major transformations it can go through. Here we go. First up, dehydration. We add something called concentrated sulfuric acid. The easiest way to think about this stuff is as a thirsty agent. Its only job is to come in and snatch a water molecule right out of the ethanol. And when it pulls out that water, what's left behind is ethene. Simple. The second move is oxidation. Here, we add an oxidizing agent, whose job is basically to deliver oxygen. It adds oxygen to the ethanol, transforming it into ethanoic acid. So really, it's just about removing water or adding oxygen. And just like that, we're through it. We started at 0, feeling totally lost. But look at you now. You have a real, solid foundation. You get the secret of sharing, you know carbon's superpower, you can speak its language, and you even understand the logic behind some of its biggest reactions. So, instead of that I'm at 0 feeling, you can now look at this chapter with some real confidence. You're ready to nail this. So let's just hammer home the big ideas one last time. First, carbon's magic trick is all about sharing electrons. That's what covalent bonds are. Second, naming things isn't scary. It's just a simple system of roots plus suffixes. Third, functional groups are just accessories that give a molecule its unique personality. And finally, those crazy-looking reactions, a lot of them are just about adding or removing simple stuff like water or oxygen. You know, it's pretty wild when you stop and think about it. That one simple rule, carbon's ability to share 4 electrons, is responsible for the incredible variety of life and materials all around us. It builds everything from simple fuels to the incredibly complex DNA that makes you, well, you. So now that you understand the rules of the ultimate builder, the real question is, what will you build with this knowledge?